It's finally time to come clean. Whew. I am a Bonk Bros fanboy. And today, I'm gonna tell you why. Let's go! If you're new here, my name is JP. I'm a teacher and a filmmaker here in northern Minnesota, where today it is very cold. And on this vlog slash podcast series, I'm bringing you with as we get ready for the next film in the Maahee series. I'm gonna bring you with to races. I'm gonna bring you with to meet my coach. I'm even gonna give you an opportunity to join in the fun. And sometimes we'll even take a real deep dive on mental health. Welcome to the Bootleg Miles. Look, it's no secret that I love the Bonk Bros, and you might as well throw in Ignition Coach Co. while we're at it as well. In fact, the funniest comment that has ever shown up on my YouTube channel is when @Chad Johansson said, "I wish I loved anything as much as this host loves the Bonk Bros." But to be totally honest, I'm not just some fanboy. There's a reason that I love Dylan Johnson, Drew Dillman, and Adam Sabin so much. Some of the first videos that I ever put out on this channel, Dylan Johnson helped me with them. These were not podcasts, these were Zoom calls where I was terrible at answering questions. Dylan put up with me, said sure a lot at the end of my questions, and then gave me good information to use. He would then turn around and share those with his audience, his massive audience. And by the time we got to the first Maahee film coming out, I want to say the 75% of my subscribers had come from Dylan pointing them to me. Drew Dillman was similar. He would bring the Stable Cyclist podcast and myself up on the Bonk Bros from time to time.
Oh, hey, I was also going to point that out, that the Stable Cyclist interviewed 2 out of 4 of the Bonk, or 2 out of 5 of the Bonk Bros. They've got,
Drew, are you
obviously
plugging another podcast on our podcast right now?
I thought it was a great podcast. I thought he asked really good questions. You obviously talked really well. It made me like, I don't know, it made me like super proud.
He takes the opposite approach of us. He comes to the show very prepared.
Yeah, I
questions in hand, he does some research.
Every single time he did this, and the guys would talk about the show, or a listener would write in about the show, I would see a subsequent bump in subscribers and downloads and views and all those metrics. And then when he and his teammate Chase Wark got ready to announce their new team, they did it by coming on my show. They came to me and said, "We want to announce this with you." I got Drew Dillman and Chase Wark with breaking news. Guys, what do you got for me?
Bro, this is lunchbox racing. We're about to drop bombs on the gravel scene in the USA. Dude, you thought the hit squad was real? Bro, you better be ready.
Adam is for sure the most significant of all three. 2 years ago, when I was starting to work on Back to the Start, I was looking for premieres in the area. And by area, I mean region. And I knew Adam lived in Sioux Falls, which is roughly 3 hours from where I am. Now, I knew who Adam was because of the podcasts, but he definitely didn't know who I was. But I slid into his DMs, told him about the project, and asked if he'd be interested in helping us figure out a way to do a premiere in Sioux Falls. 30 minutes later, I got this message back.
Hey, JP. Hey, man, great to hear from you. Thanks again for reaching out about the project. Yeah, so I definitely think that we could set up some kind of Falls area premiere. We could definitely co-host some kind of video premiere and draw a pretty decent crowd. I definitely can't offer much for funding as far as like resources go, but as far as hands-on coaching, I'd love to support in that way. So I could offer that pro bono, and we could kind of work together towards your goals. So yeah, just kind of like let me know what ways that I can be involved. I'd love to help you out.
Very quickly, Adam and I started working together, and I started to find fitness that I hadn't seen in half a decade. And everything was going awesome. Adam was helping me find new belief in myself that I hadn't had in years. But then one day in July of 2023, it all came crashing down. Literally. I was out on the home trails on my mountain bike, flying around a downhill left-handed corner at 20 miles an hour. But this time there was a giant ash tree in the middle of the trail. I can remember seeing the tree. I remember hearing my head smash into an adjacent tree, and then I don't remember anything until I got back up off the ground, pointed in a totally different direction than how I had come down. My phone was recording the ride, and it said that after the crash, I was stopped for 2.5 minutes. Adam and I talked a few days after the accident on the phone, and in fact we had numerous phone calls over the next month, but there was literally no end in sight. And eventually Adam said the words that probably a lot of us need to hear in that situation when we're kind of freaking out about what the long-term outlook looks like. And Adam just said, I'm here. Whenever you're good and we're ready to resume again, I'm here. And even if you can't ever resume, I'm still here. It would take 13 months before I was cleared to ride and race again. But in the meantime, Adam did what he could to support me. He came on the podcast and gave one of the most vulnerable interviews in the whole Stable Cyclist library talking about mental health.
Why is this topic of mental health so important to you?
Yeah, I mean, my mental health journey really started at an early age, probably 12, 13, maybe 14 years old. It was kind of the first experiences I had with depression. And, it was really like, kind of during some of those formative years in high school, especially where, I can look back and, at the time, I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues that, went unresolved. I went through some really dark times, suicidal episodes, attempted suicide multiple times. And, I really leaned on some close friends during that time who I could trust in, confide in, know that they weren't going to go and expose, some of the things that I was going through, that they were just kind of there for me through some of those hard times. And, it's a part of my life. It's a part of my journey. And if there's anything that I can do, any, initiatives that I can get involved with that helps just to bring more light to the mental health epidemic, the better. I don't want people to experience what I've gone through if they don't have to.
Adam and I are working together again, but after over a year off, extended illness this spring, and me weighing somewhere around 25 pounds more than I did in the past, we've definitely got our work cut out for us as we work towards this year's Mahache 100 in August.
I would think while we're going through this period of unknown still and just kind of testing the waters and trying to slowly progress things over time, I would lean more towards gravel, just endurance events if you can. Yeah. It's just like mountain biking is chaotic. You just don't want to put yourself in that situation where you're putting yourself at risk of compromising your health. So I would say for the time being, I know you're going to, potentially go to Chase's event here in a few weeks, and then you've got the Badlands gravel race towards the end of May. So you got a couple of those gravel races mixed in there. I'd rather get you to the start line. If Mahache is your first and only mountain bike race of the entire season, well, so be it. That's what we're preparing for anyways. To get you to the start line in August, we need to get you to the start line, right? Like,
Right.
at the very
Exactly.
least, you need to be able to show up. If you can't show up, then it doesn't matter what we did, right?
Being totally honest, most days I feel a long ways from that guy 2 years ago that I was flying up climbs. It's really hard. And most rides, including this one, just are a struggle. But I have an incredible team around me. I have my family, I have my close friends. I have guys like Derek Wallace and Kelly McGelkey who are racing with me in August, all cheering me on, all supporting me. And I have people like Adam who just show up and say, I'm here. So here's my question to you. Who do you have in your corner? People like Adam and Derek and Kelly and my family and my friends are really important because when it comes down to brass tacks, they let me know that they're there and that I can get through things. And if you don't have those people, maybe it's time to go get plugged in. Maybe it's time to go find that local group ride and get involved and get plugged in your community. And I would encourage you to invest in the people around you so that when it does come down to brass tacks, when things do get tough, you're there for one another. Because the reality is we are not meant to do any of this alone. People can make fun of my Bonk Bro fanboyism all that they want, but you can see that they've had a huge part in building the Stable Cyclist podcast and this YouTube channel. And to be totally honest, there's a good chance that you are here because one of them helped you get here. And they're a big reason that I'm still telling stories today. We've got a long way to go between now and the Matahe 100, but we are on the road forward and we are moving forward, and that is what matters. Thank you so much for hanging out today. We'll have another episode of the Bootleg Miles out next week. And remember, more important than anything, you are loved.
Oh, hey, I was also going to point that out, that the Stable Cyclist interviewed 2 out of 4 of the Bonk, or 2 out of 5 of the Bonk Bros. They've got
Drew, are you
obviously
plugging another podcast on our podcast?